Hello and welcome to another day of Walking with Jesus. I am glad to greet you today and to know that I have a slightly easier passage to talk about today than I did yesterday. So today, as we gather, we're going to gather around Luke 16, and it's right after the shrewd or unfaithful overseer. And it still has to do with our view of the things of this world and how we use the resources that we have at our disposal. And a reminder that the things that we have at our disposal here are to be used in a manner that enhances and forwards the kingdom of God and our entry into it in the future. Once again, I need to be very clear. We are saved by grace, not through works, lest anyone should boast. But there are good works that we're supposed to do, good works that God created for us to do. And so how we use our resources kind of shows us where our heart is and what's really going on inside. So it's good for us to pause every now and then and think, how do I feel about the things that God has entrusted to my care? And do they own me? Do they control me, or do I control them? And am I using them for the good of the kingdom of God, or am I using them just to try and give myself a better position in life and be more comfortable? So this is from Luke 16, verses 10 to 13. As I said, it follows on the previous one, and it's a word to the disciples as well as to us today. One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. And one who is dishonest in a very little is also dishonest in much. If then you have not been faithful in the unrighteous wealth, who will entrust to you the true riches? And if you have not been faithful in that which is another's, who will give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Now, it's really important here that we stop for just a moment and say that money, wealth, is not a problem in and of itself. And it's really important that we look at the biblical record and realize that Abraham was a man of great wealth, as was Jacob, as was King David, a man after God's own heart. And King Solomon, he's kind of a mixed bag. But King Solomon, he was one of the wealthiest of all. And yet he was also a servant of God. He made terrible mistakes, but he was also honored by God. So wealth itself is not the problem. It's the management of that wealth. And whether or not that wealth is there at your disposal for your comfort and your pleasure alone, which Solomon would have said in Ecclesiastes is vanity of vanities, or if it is being used to the glory of God and his kingdom and to help those around you, in which case that wealth that God has entrusted into your care is doing well. So one who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. It's really important for us to realize that what we do with the little things in our life, the things we think nobody will notice, the things that we think don't matter, those are the things that set the course of our lives. There's a book written by an admiral. I don't remember his name. My son Isaac would. But the title is Make Your Bed and Other Little Disciplines That Lead to Success. But it's the little things that so often turn into big things. And so if we are faithful in the little things, then we are also faithful in the big things. The converse is true. If we're dishonest in little things, we will probably be dishonest in big things. And so it's really important for us to realize that we have been entrusted with the things of this world. If then you have not been faithful in the unrighteous wealth, the things of this world, the things that would be mammon, the things that are not eternal, then who will entrust you with the true riches, the riches that go into the kingdom to come? And so what we do with what God has placed in our hands matters. And I wonder, I don't know this, but I wonder if Jesus isn't thinking about the tithe here, being faithful in the little things. You know, the little thing is that of the tithe, you know, being faithful with 10%. Then you'll be faithful with the 90% as well. I wonder if he's not thinking about that, because Jesus never takes the concept of tithing away. While it is an Old Testament command, and while I believe that the New Testament actually calls us to a higher discipline of recognizing that everything that we have belongs to God rather than 10%. The 10% of storehouse giving, I think, is important. And I don't talk about this a lot. I don't teach on it or preach on it, but God cares about what we do with everything that he's entrusted to our care. And in Malachi chapter 3, he tells the Israelites that they have been robbing him by withholding the tithe. And he tells them, test me and see. And so, I don't know if that's on his mind, on his heart or not. But certainly if we're faithful in the 10%, then the 90% will go much better as well. And then just the concept, if you're living for the things of this world, you can't really be living for the kingdom of God. If everything in your mind and your psyche is pointed towards obtaining, acquiring, and having comfort and status and position here on earth, then you're not going to be thinking about the things of heaven and being willing to sacrifice and humble yourself and all of that. No one can serve two masters. We have to choose. We have to choose who we're going to serve. Are we going to serve ourselves in this life and pursue money and fame and fortune and the things of this world? Or are we going to serve God and trust him to take care of us? This is kind of hard. It's kind of tough, but it's the way of our God and it's the way of Jesus. And he doesn't pull punches. He's a pretty straight shooter. And so I'm just going to ask you, as you walk with Jesus today, to let him search your heart and try you and see if there's any offensive way in you, any way that is not pleasing to him. And just ask him what he wants you to do with your stuff so that you know that you're using it to his glory instead of hoarding it for your comfort. This is something to think about as you walk with Jesus today. God bless you as you walk with him.